In a world just buzzing with AI, here's a question. How is it really going to change something as personal, as complex as managing your money? Are human financial advisors, becoming a thing of the past, or is something maybe more interesting actually happening? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really comprehensive report on Claude AI from Anthropic. We're looking specifically at its capabilities in financial services and, well, how it stacks up against or maybe works with the traditional human financial advisor.
Exactly. And our goal here really is to pull out the crucial insights from this material. We'll unpack what makes Claude AI strong, particularly in finance. We'll also dig into the value of human advisors, what parts of their job are enduring, maybe even irreplaceable. And ultimately, we want to explore this evolving landscape of financial advice, uncover how AI is reshaping it in ways you might not expect.
Right. And just so everyone knows where we're coming from, we're drawing on a pretty detailed report. It gives this exhaustive analysis of Claude AI's architecture, how it's tailored for finance, and importantly, a nuanced comparison to human advisors. Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we even get into comparisons, what exactly is Claude AI and why is it supposedly so well suited for, the high stakes world of finance?
Well, Anthropic designed Claude differently. It's not just a general AI. They built in specific features focused on safety, transparency, and handling complexity. And these are obviously absolutely critical if you're operating anywhere near the financial sector.
Yeah.
They actually have a whole family of models tiered for different needs. At the very top, you've got the Claude Opus models. These are really for the heavy lifting, the complex, cognitively demanding stuff. Think sophisticated financial modeling, deep M&A due diligence, maybe even powering autonomous research agents. Opus actually does really well on benchmarks like SWE Bench for coding.
Oh, interesting. So it can write code too.
Yes, it can effectively write and debug complex code needed for intricate financial logic. That's a task that usually requires significant human expertise. Then you've got the Claude Sonnet models. Think of these as the versatile workhorses. They balance intelligence and speed pretty well for typical enterprise tasks. So, summarizing earnings calls, analyzing news sentiment, drafting research reports, internal knowledge management, that sort of thing.
Okay, the workhorse model. Makes sense.
And finally, there are the Claude Haiku models. These are all about speed and cost effectiveness. Perfect for real-time stuff like customer service chatbots handling routine questions or instant translations for global operations.
I can definitely see how having those different tiers would be useful. But here's something I found really compelling in the report, especially for finance. Tell us about Claude's 200,000 token context window. First off, what does that even mean? And why is it such a game changer here?
Right, the context window. It's basically Claude's working memory. It's the amount of information measured in tokens, which are like words or parts of words that the model can process and sort of remember all at once. 200,000 tokens means it can handle about 150,000 words, or over 350 pages of text in a single go. And crucially, the report stresses it maintains perfect recall within that window. Nothing gets lost or summarized from the beginning.
Perfect recall over 350 pages. Wow.
Exactly. And the impact for finance is huge. Think about those massive documents, 10Ks, IPO prospectuses, M&A reports. They're often hundreds of pages long. Smaller context windows have to process these in chunks, right? So they lose critical context, connections between different parts of the document. Claude can ingest the whole thing at once. This allows for true synthesis. It's not just reading more. It's understanding the relationships across the entire document. It can spot subtle patterns, hidden risks, crucial dependencies in analogous contracts that, frankly, even a team of humans might miss reviewing it piece by piece.
So it's like seeing the whole forest for the first time, not just the trees.
That's a great way to put it. And it gets even better because it also has multimodal vision integration. This means Claude can also analyze images, charts, graphs, tables, all that stuff embedded within these long documents. It's a much more holistic analysis.
Okay, that's incredibly powerful, but with great power comes, well, great responsibility, right? Given how sensitive financial data is, safety must be a massive concern. How did Anthropic tackle that?
Absolutely. That's a critical point. Anthropic developed something they call constitutional AI, or CAI. It's a really novel approach.
Yeah.
Basically, Claude learns to evaluate and revise its own outputs against a predefined constitution, like an internal ethical rulebook. The goal is to make sure it's helpful, honest, and harmless. And these principles aren't just pulled out of thin air. They come from diverse sources like the UN Declaration of Human Rights, even Apple's Terms of Service, best practices stuff.
A constitution for an AI. Interesting. Does it have specific rules for finance?
Yes, and this is key. A crucial guardrail built into this constitution explicitly tells Claude to avoid giving specific financial, legal, or medical advice. Instead, it's programmed to suggest consulting a qualified human professional. This directly addresses a major liability worry for any institution using these tools.
So it won't tell me which stock to buy.
It shouldn't. It's designed not to. And the way they implement this is through something called RLAIF reinforcement, learning from AI feedback. It's an automated way for Claude to learn and refine its behavior based on these principles, making it safer over time. Plus, Anthropic uses what they call ASL3 protections. That's AI Safety Level 3, their highest internal security controls, and these constitutional classifiers that block dangerous prompts or outputs. Think trying to use it for developing weapons or something? It shows a serious commitment to safety.
It certainly sounds like it. Powerful, but with guardrails.
But Anthropic didn't just stop there, did they? They launched something specific, Claude for Financial Services. What makes that offering unique? What's the Wall Street angle? Right, so Claude for Financial Services isn't just the base model. It's an enterprise-only solution, launched in July 2025. It bundles their top models, Opus and Sonnet, with specialized tools. But the critical piece is a network of integrations. Integrations with premier financial data providers and consulting firms. It's more like a curated ecosystem.
Okay, integrations. Now, one of the biggest fears with AI, especially in finance, is hallucination, right? Like the AI just making stuff up. How does this specialized offering deal with that? That seems vital if you're dealing with market data.
Absolutely vital. And this is really a cornerstone of their financial services offering. It tackles hallucination through those deep integrations you just mentioned. Think trusted names: S&P Global, Morningstar, FactSet, PitchBook, Databricks, Snowflake, Box, Palantir, Delupa. Real heavy hitters in financial data. This lets them use a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or IRI.
RAG. Okay, how does that work?
So instead of just relying on its training data, Claude actively pulls real-time factual information from these trusted databases to inform its responses. This drastically reduces the chances of it fabricating figures or mentioning events that never happened. And importantly, it means responses are verifiable, with clear audit trails and citations back to the source data. That's crucial for compliance.
Verifiability, citations. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds essential for finance. So what are the actual results? Are there documented use cases, tangible benefits from early adopters? What's the real-world impact?
The results coming out are quite impressive, actually. On the quantitative side, there are benchmarks. For instance, Fundamental Labs used Claude's tech for an Excel agent, and it passed 5 out of 7 levels of the Financial Modeling World Cup with 83% accuracy. That's pretty serious. It also consistently tops accuracy tables on a new benchmark called Finance Agent by Claude AI.
So it's not just summarizing, it's actually doing complex modeling.
Exactly. It can perform complex financial modeling, even Monte Carlo simulations, using something they call Claude Code. It's also being used for compliance automation. There's a tool called Craig Compliance Requirements Generator, automating complex workflows there. And in trading and underwriting, AIG reported something remarkable: a 5-fold reduction in underwriting turnaround times.
5-fold. That's huge.
It is. And they also saw data accuracy jump from about 75% to over 90%. Real tangible improvements. We're also seeing insights from early adopters. Bridgewater Associates, for example, is using Claude as an investment analyst assistant. They say it helps with charts and code with the precision of a junior analyst.
Precision of a junior analyst, that's quite specific.
It is. And NBM, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, their CEO estimates a 20% productivity gain. That translates to something like 213,000 labor hours saved annually, just on tasks like querying data warehouses or analyzing earnings calls. And Commonwealth Bank of Australia is using it for really mission-critical stuff like fraud prevention and customer service, which shows a significant level of trust already.
That AIG figure, though, 5 times faster underwriting, that's transformative. But what does the report say about the cost side of this? Or were there unexpected hurdles? It sounds almost too smooth.
That's a fair point. While the report definitely highlights the ROI and the productivity gains, it does note that getting there often involves significant upfront investment. Especially for larger institutions, it's about modernizing data infrastructure, getting the integrations right. The hurdle isn't just buying the AI model, it's making sure your internal data is clean, accessible, and ready to work with these new systems. It's a foundational shift, not just plug and play.
Right, infrastructure first. That makes sense. So Claude is clearly handling immense amounts of data, complex calculations, a lot of the heavy lifting with remarkable speed and accuracy, which brings us to the really crucial question. If AI can do so much of the quantitative work, What exactly is the irreplaceable role of the human financial advisor in this new world? And also, thinking about everything you read in that report, what was the single most unexpected or maybe counterintuitive insight about AI's role in finance that jumped out at you?
That's a great question, and I'll definitely share that surprising insight in just a sec. But first, about the human advisor's role. They're becoming, more than ever, these holistic financial architects. Their core value really starts with deep personal engagement, goal discovery and planning. It's about understanding not just the numbers, but life goals, aspirations, fears, risk tolerance, all through qualitative relational conversations that an algorithm just can't replicate.
The soft stuff.
Exactly. Then they develop a comprehensive financial strategy. This goes way beyond just picking stocks. It includes insurance, mortgages, estate planning, tax strategies, the whole picture. They're involved in portfolio management too, of course, but the critical part is making adjustments based on changes in the client's life. A new job, having a child, a health issue, not just reacting to market swings. And a key role, often underestimated, is client education. Explaining complex financial ideas in a way people understand builds trust and empowers them.
Okay, strategy, life changes, education. But what about the really intangible stuff, the human element? Reading the room, handling the emotional roller coasters of investing.
That's where their unquantifiable value really shines,
Right.
especially in emotional and behavioral coaching. Think about market volatility.
Sure.
A good advisor acts as a kind of circuit breaker. They provide reassurance, historical perspective, help prevent panic selling.
Right, talking you off the ledge.
Precisely. An AI can give you data, maybe even probabilities, but it can't replicate the calming influence of a trusted human conversation when your life savings seem to be evaporating. An AI might give advice based on numbers, but it won't grasp the unspoken worry a parent has balancing saving for their kid's college versus their own retirement. That's the human advisor's job, bridging that emotional gap.
Understanding the nuances.
Yes, exactly. Interpreting subtext, recognizing unspoken concerns, integrating all the messy qualitative stuff, family dynamics, balancing emotional desires like retiring early with financial reality. That takes empathy, discernment, understanding human values. And finally, they act as an accountability partner, helping clients stay disciplined, stick to the plan, avoid chasing hot stocks or getting scared out of good ones. That's built on a relationship of trust.
Trust and accountability. That brings up another key point. Who is ultimately responsible when advice is given, especially if AI is part of the process?
Yeah, this is fundamental, especially concerning legal and ethical trust. It comes down to the fiduciary standard. Many human advisors, certified financial planners, CFPs, registered investment advisors, RIAs, are legally bound to act in their client's best interest at all times.
Legally bound.
Yes, this involves several duties. A duty of loyalty, putting the client's interests ahead of their own or their firm's, disclosing any conflicts. A duty of care, acting prudently and diligently based on the client's specific goals and circumstances. And a duty to follow client instructions. Now, contrast that with AI. And AI doesn't have legal personhood. It can't be sued or held liable for breaching trust in the same way a human can. Accountability for AI-driven advice ultimately falls on the institution that deploys the AI. A human fiduciary faces direct personal, professional, and potentially legal consequences if they breach that trust. That's a huge difference.
A very significant difference in accountability.
It really is. And this actually brings me back to that surprising insight you asked about earlier. The report really underscored something interesting. We often focus on AI automating tasks, right? But the truly surprising thing is how AI seems to be forcing human advisors to double down on their most uniquely human skills. It's pushing them further into areas like psychological coaching, values-based planning, deep relationship building, things that were maybe secondary before. So the value proposition isn't just, I can do research faster with AI. It's becoming, I understand you and your life context better than anyone, enabled by AI handling the data. It's less about competition, more about AI driving an evolution in the human advisor's core function.
That is counterintuitive. AI pushing advisors to be more human, not less. So based on all this, is Claude AI better than a human advisor? Or is it, as you said, more nuanced?
Definitely not binary. It's absolutely more nuanced. Each has distinct strengths, and it really depends on the specific task or need. It's helpful to compare them side by side on key attributes.
Okay, let's do that comparison.
All right, so data analysis and speed. Claude is clearly superior. Near instantaneous analysis, perfect recall over vast data sets, no fatigue. Humans are limited, slower, manual, but crucially, they can use intuition to spot missing info or question the data itself.
Right. AI sees what's there. Humans can wonder what isn't.
Good point. Knowledge base. Claude is vast and current, thanks to its training plus those real-time RAG integrations. A human's knowledge is deep and experiential years of navigating real markets, dealing with unique client situations, tacit knowledge. Personalization. Claude offers scalable hyper-personalization based on quantitative data. It can tailor things incredibly finely based on numbers. But a human offers deep, holistic personalization, understanding the qualitative stuff, life goals, values, unspoken fears.
Quant versus qual personalization.
Exactly. Emotional intelligence and empathy. For Claude, it's non-existent. It can mimic sentiment, maybe, but there's no genuine empathy. For a human, this is a core strength building trust, providing reassurance, behavioral coaching, fiduciary duty, and accountability. Claude has programmed ethics, its constitution, but no legal personhood, no direct liability. Accountability rests with the institution. For a human fiduciary, it's legally binding with direct personal and professional consequences.
Big difference there.
Huge. Cost and accessibility. Claude is low cost and highly accessible. It's scalable, available 24/7. Humans are high cost and low accessibility, comparatively less scalable, limited hours. Consistency and bias. Claude is perfectly consistent. It applies rules identically every time. But, and this is important, it can amplify biases present in its training data if not carefully managed. Humans are inconsistent, prone to individual errors and biases, but they can also consciously recognize and mitigate their biases or adapt to truly unique situations.
Interesting trade-off there. Consistency versus adaptability and bias awareness.
Yes. And finally, holistic and complex planning. Claude is limited here because it primarily works with quantifiable inputs. It struggles with integrating all those messy, non-quantifiable life factors. A human is superior at weaving together disparate qualitative information into a cohesive, adaptable life plan. So the summary is, Claude excels at analytical, data-driven, scalable tasks. Humans excel at the relational, empathetic, judgment-based, and accountable aspects. The most powerful approach, combine them.
Combine them. That makes sense. But like any powerful new tool, there must be risks. What are the biggest risks of deploying AI like Claude in finance, and how are institutions actually managing them?
You're right, the risks are significant, and managing them is paramount. The central challenge often circles back to the black box problem, not always knowing exactly how the AI reached a conclusion. From that stems several key risks. Hallucination is a big one we touched on. The AI generating plausible but factually wrong outputs. Imagine invented earnings figures or non-existent market events. The consequences could be catastrophic.
How do they stop that?
The primary mitigation is that retrieval augmented generation, RAG, we discussed. Grounding responses in real time, verifiable data is key. Plus, adding citations so humans can check the source, and always having a human in the loop for verification, especially for critical outputs. Then there's data security and privacy, a huge concern with sensitive client data. Anthropic's approach includes a strict policy of not training on customer data.
Okay, that's important. Your data doesn't become part of the model.
Correct. Plus, they employ enterprise-grade security things like SOC 2, Type 2 certification, IPAA-eligible options. These are high industry standards, like those used for sensitive medical data. And continuous monitoring, of course. Another major risk is algorithmic bias and fairness. The AI might learn and perpetuate biases present in its historical training data, leading to discriminatory outcomes. Remember the Apple Card controversy from 2019, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember that. How do they fight bias?
Mitigation involves using that constitutional AI framework to actively reduce biased outputs and developing explainable AI, XAI techniques to better understand why the model made a certain decision. Regulators like the FTC and CFPB are also watching this very closely, pushing for transparency and fairness. And finally, there's the evolving regulatory landscape. AI is developing so fast, regulations are struggling to keep up. This creates ambiguity. The EU AI Act, for instance, classifies many financial AI uses as high risk, which comes with strict requirements. And that accountability gap, who is legally liable if an AI causes harm, that remains a major challenge regulators are grappling with.
So, RBAD, data privacy, XAI, human oversight, lots of mitigation strategies, but the risks are real.
They are, and transparency is key to managing them. Things like RAG, citations, and Claude even has a feature called Extended Thinking Mode where it tries to show its step-by-step reasoning. These are all crucial for building trust and enabling effective human oversight.
Okay. So, putting it all together, what does this mean for the future of financial advice? Is it really shaping up to be this co-pilot model we hear about?
Yes, the overwhelming consensus in the report and what we're seeing in practice points strongly towards augmentation, not automation. The co-pilot model seems very apt. AI takes over the data-heavy, repetitive analytical tasks, becomes a massive productivity multiplier for the advisor. And this frees up the human advisor to focus on the high-value, uniquely human stuff. building deeper client relationships, providing strategic counsel, delivering that empathetic behavioral coaching we talked about. It really is about leveraging the best of both.
Can you give us a concrete example of that Copilot model in action?
The Morgan Stanley case study mentioned in the report is a great illustration. They rolled out a generative AI tool powered by GPT-4, actually, but similar principles to their 16,000 financial advisors. It was trained on Morgan Stanley's own proprietary research and market insights. It acts as an intelligent assistant. Advisors can use it to quickly find information, summarize research, draft client communications, prepare for meetings much more efficiently.
So it makes them faster, more prepared.
Exactly. The stated goal wasn't replacement, it was enhancement, allowing advisors to spend less time buried in data and more time on direct client engagement, focusing on the relationship and higher-level strategy. And this fits into a bigger trend some call the great unbundling of the advisor's role. If AI can handle the data analysis and basic portfolio construction almost as a commodity service,
Then what's left for the human?
what's left is the qualitative, the relational. Mastering those EPOCH attributes someone at MIT Sloan mentioned. Empathy, presence, opinion, creativity, hope. The advisor's alpha, their real value add, shifts from just picking investments to behavioral coaching, holistic planning, being that trusted guide through complex life decisions.
So it really makes you wonder what the new essential skill set for financial advisors will be. It's less about crunching numbers, maybe more about understanding people and thinking about everyone potentially using these powerful AI tools. Is there a risk we end up in a future where everyone just uses the same AI analysis, leading to, I don't know, less diversity of thought in the market, groupthink, but AI powered?
That's a really insightful concern about potential convergence, yeah. Groupthink is definitely a risk if everyone relies on the same unfiltered AI output. But this is precisely where the human advisor's role becomes even more critical. While AI standardizes access to information, the advisor's job is to interpret that information, filter it through the unique lens of each client's specific needs, goals, and risk tolerance, and importantly, to apply their own experience and judgment. The raw data might become a commodity, but the application, the customization, the critical evaluation of that data that remains a human skill. Plus, we're already seeing the emergence of new roles dedicated to managing this. Things like AI model risk officers, conversational system trainers or prompt engineers, AI product managers, AI fluent compliance leads. These roles are all about human expertise overseeing, guiding, and ensuring the responsible and diverse application of AI.
New jobs created by AI, focused on managing AI.
Interesting. Okay, so bringing it all together, what are the key strategic recommendations? What should financial institutions, advisors, and even investors like you and me listening, what should we do to navigate this? Great question. The report lays out some clear recommendations for each group. For financial institutions, number one is develop a robust AI governance framework. This means a formal ethics committee, clear policies, prioritizing transparency, explainability, auditability for every AI system they deploy. Second, invest in data infrastructure and hygiene. We talked about this. Quality data is the foundation. They need to modernize systems and have strong data governance. And third, prioritize workforce upskilling and foster a hybrid culture. Train advisors how to use these AI tools effectively, but also develop their relational skills, critical thinking, and encourage human-AI collaboration.
Okay, governance, data, upskilling for institutions. What about individual advisors?
For financial advisors, the message is, embrace AI as a productivity multiplier. Learn these tools. Use them for research, report generation, data analysis. Then, reinvest that saved time into deeper client relationships. Second, differentiate on human value. Focus on emotional intelligence, behavioral coaching, holistic life planning. Market yourself as that trusted partner, not just an investment picker. And third, become an AI interpreter and curator. You need to understand the AI's outputs, its limitations, potential biases, and then translate and contextualize those insights for your clients. Add your judgment.
Makes sense. Be the human filter and guide. And finally, for investors, for clients.
For investors and clients, it's crucial to understand the tool's purpose and limitations. Use AI, sure, for insights, for education, maybe basic tasks. But recognize it cannot give truly personalized, context-aware advice that understands your whole life picture. Second, seek human counsel for complex and high-stakes decisions. Major life events, estate planning, navigating serious market volatility, that's where the fiduciary care, nuanced judgment, and empathy of a human advisor are indispensable. And finally, demand transparency and accountability. Ask advisors and institutions how they're using AI. Ask for the reasoning behind recommendations. Inquire about their fiduciary status. Ask about data sources, privacy protections, governance. Be an informed consumer.
Be informed, ask questions, and know when you need a human. Got it. So, wrapping this up, it really feels like the future of financial advice isn't some battle between AI and humans. It's more about a powerful, intelligent collaboration shaping up. AI handles the science of finance, you could say, the data, the calculations, the optimization. And in doing that, it actually liberates the human advisor to focus more on the art of finance, the relationships, the trust, navigating the complex human journey with money. So, for you, the listener, here's a final thought to chew on as we finish. If AI gets incredibly good at analyzing all the financial data, essentially freeing up human advisors from that purely quantitative heavy lifting, how might this huge shift in informational power reshape who gets access to sophisticated financial insights? And perhaps more profoundly, what entirely new forms of value, things we haven't even thought of yet, will emerge from purely human judgment, empathy, and creativity in this rapidly evolving landscape? Something to ponder.